Hello beauty squad, it's your girl TeeTee. Welcome back to my channel of all things life, love, and beauty. Let me just say I am on a roll today, knocking out a couple of videos, and yes, I'm shooting them like back to back, so I have them in my arsenal for you guys as we wrap up this year. And we, I'll start to determine, all of us content creators, here on YouTube and everywhere, some of the best, and in my opinion, some of the best products, makeup products, beauty products that have come out this year. And there have been a lot. Oh my goodness, there's been a lot. Foundation. I've never seen so many foundation releases. And eyeshadow palettes. The eyeshadow palette overload was just crazy this year, from beginning to now. It's just been a lot. And so, as I said at the beginning of the year, I was going to curb my spending a little bit, and I did. So there were a lot of foundations that came out, and I bought a couple. Normally I would buy a little bit of everything and try it out, and I didn't do that this year. So I bought some for the very first time that I've heard good things about, that I was like, oh, let me just try it. And I loved it. I loved a couple of them, actually. So today I'm going to bring you the best foundations of 2019, as well as concealers for 2019. Not a lot of concealers that came out this year, but definitely foundations. So before we get into my best list of foundations and concealers for this year, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You're already here. You've been watching. I see you watching. So just subscribe. And let me know what you think. Thumbs up, thumbs down, what you're gonna get, what you've tried, what you haven't tried, any recommendations. So let's just get into it. So let's start off with concealer. I go through concealers like crazy. I'll try them, and if I don't like them, I'll move on to the next one. And I don't know, I probably don't give them a chance, because I don't have dark circles or anything like that. I don't get enough sleep. So I try to still take the less is more approach with concealer, because sometimes you pack it on and it'll just look cakey and it'll get into the lines, and every concealer claims that they don't crease. If you have smile lines or laugh lines here like I do, it's going to crease. But I've found ways to crease it, to stop it from creasing. So as I said in my foundation hacks video, I use the MAC Studio Fix C6 powder to set my concealer under my eyes, and that actually really cuts down on the creasing significantly. So we're going to get into, in my opinion, some of the best foundations that have come out this year. And as I said, there's been a lot, but I only have a few. Let's get started. So I'm going to go from least light to best light. So I have actually 4 foundations here, and I have a few concealers here. So let's start with concealer. And these are in no particular order for concealer, because as I've said, concealer is just something I go through all the time. But there's only been a couple this year that I use pretty consistently. So I do like the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer. I like it, and it's really good for cut creases, half cut creases, or what have you. And I have one that's lighter than my skin tone and one that's more of my skin tone, and I blend these together. And I mean, these are what, $6? They're not real harsh on the skin, but I do apply these with a beauty blender, because I found that what I did when I applied them with a brush, it made me look cakey and I didn't like it. But I do like the concealer though. The Born This Way concealer. I absolutely love this. It's a hydrating concealer and I love it. And I have it in a couple shades. I have Warm Sand. I can never remember the other one. Butterscotch, which is more of my color. So I really like this. You know, this from Born This Way. Conceal, Contour, Highlight, Retouch. And I believe this has coconut water in it. So that's definitely a plus, you know, for me, because anything that's, you know, as my eyes are mature, because I am, you know, under the eyes can get really, what do I want to say, can get really dry. The skin is very thin under the eyes. So I tend to gravitate towards concealers that are definitely hydrating, if nothing else. And this is definitely one that I like, and I put this one to a lot of good use this year. Next one. Okay, the next concealer that I love is from Kevin A. Coyne, and I am in EC06. I bought this on a recommendation from one of the ladies at Sephora. And sometimes, you know, those ladies at Sephora are definitely hit or miss. But this one, I really, really like this one. So here's some thoughts on this one. It's a weightless medium coverage concealer that corrects highlights and perfects blurring imperfections for a flawless satin finish. And I think that's why I like this, or I know that's why, because it is a demi satin finish. So that means that, you know, there's no oil in it, but it's hydrating. It's got something hydrating in it, which I'm looking to see at the same time, you know, too. But I would definitely recommend this one. This one really surprised me. It really did. And you see, I'm actually using it and I'm about halfway done with it. Again, I go through concealers like crazy, but this is definitely one of two that I'm gonna say I use pretty darn regularly. So I would definitely recommend this one. Okay, the final concealer, which I like, and I know, you know, there's been mixed reviews on this particular concealer as I'm looking for details on this one. And this one is the Double Wear Radiant Concealer from Estee Lauder. I love this one. And again, it's radiant. So the skin under my eyes, our eyes, definitely tends to be thinner and a little drier. So anything that's going to hydrate under my eyes, that has been this one. NARS I like too, and NARS is very creamy. It's so creamy to me. A little more creamier than I probably would like my concealer to be, but I really like this one. And it's, you know, it's got the really, you know, big applicator, and it's kind of one of those, to me, you know, a little goes a long way. And this one is for normal, dry, you know, combination skin. It's got some oils in it, which I think is why I like it, because it's, again, hydrating under the eyes. A little goes a long way. So it's got bilberry seed oil in it. It's got camelina oil and kukui oils, which are rich in vitamins to help keep that under eye section or your skin moisturized. So my top two concealers for this year, Kevin A. Coyne. What is the name of his concealer? It's just concealer. It's Supernatural Concealer. This and the Double Wear from Estee Lauder. And I tell you, when you pair this from Estee Lauder with the Double Wear foundation, it's a match made in heaven. they both go on very well with whatever foundation I'm putting them on top of, or whatever products. But sometimes, as I've said before, when you stick with brands, you know, if you're using the same brand as it relates to concealer and foundation, they mesh very well together. And I hear that a lot about Charlotte Tilbury, and she is next on my list to try next year in 2020. But my two favorite concealers. Foundations. I got 4. So, and again, this is going to go from least to my top. Least, I'm going to say, surprisingly, is this Chanel foundation. I like this Chanel foundation, but it doesn't play well with certain moisturizers or certain primers or setting powders for that matter. This is definitely a standalone foundation. And I know that when I moisturize, you know, a little goes a long way, and I've got to let it kind of sit, let it marinate before I apply this. And it does have, you know, like high-end products. They tend to put perfume in their products. It's not real heavy and it goes away pretty quickly. I like this foundation. I reached for it recently, and that's a couple times when I've discovered that it didn't play well with powder. Like if I set my face with a little bit of powder first and then apply this, it didn't play well. Some of the other foundations did. This one did not. So that's why this is number 4. Number 3, Anastasia. One of so many brands that came out with foundation this year. And I like this foundation. This is one of those foundations I mix with my matte or semi-matte foundations to kind of give me that radiant glow. So my matte foundation doesn't, if it's, you know, not particularly hot or I'm sweating or something like that, I'll mix a little bit of this with my matte or semi-matte foundation, and it blends very well. But it's one of those, you know, I just use probably a drop and I'm usually pretty good. But I like this. It's a luminous foundation and I'm in shade 410C. And I really like this one. It kind of, the packaging reminds me of NARS, which leads me to number 2, which is NARS. And I'm late to NARS. You know, my skin has been dry and I wanted something more radiant or luminous as far as foundation. My dog is right here and she's looking like, I want some makeup on too, TeeTee. And I bought this, I bought a sample this summer and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Now I see what the rage is about this foundation and I love it. It's a long wear foundation. To me, it's thick in texture. So to me, a little goes a long way in my opinion. But I'm also a medium coverage kind of girl. I don't like to cake on my foundation a lot. So I might only go in with, you know, maybe a pump and a half of this to cover my face, and I'm usually pretty good. Number 2. Number 1 is the sleeper I have been sitting on. I'm going, oh my goodness, where has this foundation been all of my oily skin life? The Double Wear Stay in Place like your mama slapped it in your face foundation. This Double Wear. I am in the shade 5W1.5 Cinnamon. Again, I got a sample of this before summer because I knew it was going to be hot and I needed something to keep my makeup on. This right here, there's a reason this is the number 1 foundation in, let me just say, the world. There's a reason for that. And do I think that my ladies who are, or fellas that are dry could wear this? I think you could, but again, I'd probably blend it with something that's radiant or luminous to kind of offset it a little bit, and I think it works fine. This foundation plays well with others. It mixes well with this radiant one from NARS, and it mixes well with the Anastasia foundation. This is just a staple. I travel with it. I don't leave home without it. I never thought that I would really be a 2 foundation kind of girl. And again, because it was really hot this summer in LA, very, very hot. And so whereas this kept my skin matte, but I also wanted something radiant, so I didn't look too dry or too cakey. So, and to give you some history, or just kind of the whole deal with this, I mean, it stays on Allure's top foundation list and has been for quite some time. And so it comes in 55 shades. It's 24-hour liquid foundation, which I don't think I've ever needed a foundation 24 hours. Close, some parties, some hard nights, but never, 24 hours. But I think, it just provides a natural matte finish. And again, if you mix it with a radiant or luminous foundation, it really just makes it look really nice and clean and lit. And this is it. And I've been using this a lot. So, I mean, this little bottle is, I don't know, is what, 1 fluid ounce of product. I mean, they're all about 1 fluid ounce. It's just a smaller bottle. But I tell you, I love this stuff. And I've raved about it on Instagram, and I've been sleeping on it, and it is just great. So there's a couple of the foundations I want to try by Charlotte Tilbury. I want to try hers because I've heard good things about, about hers. And the new Fenty hydrating one, it's just I already had enough hydrating or luminous foundations, as you can see with NARS and Anastasia. So I'm just like, I didn't need to get around to that. So those are my top foundations and concealers for 2019. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what some of your favorite foundations and concealers that came out this year, because there were so many. And one, I couldn't buy them all. I didn't want to buy them all. I wasn't going to buy them all. And I'm glad I went out on a limb and went for this Double Wear foundation, because I tell you, this has surpassed my MAC Studio Fix, which I've used for eons now. And this has replaced that, which really says a lot. So let me know what you guys think. What are some of your favorites? And until next time, your girl TeeTee is out. Bye.